Your leader does get minus 2,000. So it is a 5,000 leader until you hit that 10 Don. So you want to ramp as quickly as you can to 10 Don to be able to activate that ability of your leader being 7,000 power. So both players shake hands as we start the game. And it looks like Roger is going to be going first here.
It's going to be an interesting start because if Roger can get to the 10 Don very quick and being a 7k leader, suddenly those cards that attach free Don to Zoro, that 8k swing is very easy to counter out of Taj with a 2k counter. So
Yeah.
that speed is needed really, and the ramp is needed. We saw a search there. I didn't see what he took. I think he may have whiffed.
Not too sure there. Yeah, missed that myself. But we're off to Ryu here now. Search of his own with a Hiyori, utilizing both those Don. So Hiyori is obviously you use one Don to play it, and then it's a searcher that you pay to search with, one Don rest. But that does give you the opportunity to be able to find itself as well, because it doesn't restrict what you search for in that sense.
It's a very, very good searcher. It's always painful when you play one of those searches that stops you taking the said named card and you only draw said named cards.
Yeah, it does become a pseudo blocker as well, doesn't it? Because you are forced to swing into it because you don't want your opponent to have those searches, one cost searches every single turn. So it makes it really, really important for you to swing into it the minute your opponent's activated it.
Exactly that, as we've seen here already with
Yep.
Zeus removing it from the field.
Yep.
And then we see him playing Buggy, the first of the ramp cards, which is if there is a Don attached to your leader, you may ramp as he has done. So he has already got one Don to increase that ramp into the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly what you want to be seeing. You know, your young Shanks and young Buggy on the field to Roger's old crew. Now, two of the four emperors on the field. Not very not overpowering as emperors though at this particular stage in their
No,
younger days.
but if Zeus can get to 10 Don, we may be seeing a Shanks that is very powerful, which could be very important in this matchup, which is giving minus 1,000 a blanket across the board, right? That
Yeah,
is one of the key cards in this matchup.
and especially if you can start chaining those as well. It's I've been on the receiving end of a couple of those Shanks being on the board, and it does make things very awkward for you. So yeah,
It's not a
very much
pleasant
so.
time at all.
It isn't. So what's our Zoro player going to play out here on their 4 Don turn? It's having a consideration. Was going to play the Queener there, and it looks like that might still be the option.
Solid option. Rest the Buggy, attach free Don, and swing. But it looks like he's just going for a straight 5.
Yeah. Yep.
Queener
Just
comes
plays the
out.
Queener, doesn't activate it, keeps it there because, you know, that can be very important. And having that ability to just have it on board for now, not worrying about any removal at this particular stage, thinking next turn, if I drop I can still drop something, maybe like a Tashigi. That will probably help. But
Sure.
We'll see what happens here. So we are now seeing our Roger player dropping down Douglas Bullet, a very, very useful card in this particular deck. And again, it does get very good when it does. First of all, it's got an on play. If your leader's Roger, you get to ramp, which is really important. But once you've got 8 or more Don cards on your field, this character becomes 6,000 power. So for a 3 cost, super efficient having a 6,000 power. And at this stage, we're already on 8 Don. So the minute you play it, it's now become 6,000. Super efficient. You're ramping, and you're also getting a 6k body on board, which gets very sticky for your opponent to be able to deal with.
Very much so, Taj. I think this is the reason maybe why Ryu had set up Kuina ahead of time, because now on this turn he can rest it and then swing big and get it off the board instead of having a 6k swing alongside the future turns of what other ever big bodies are now going to be coming out, being so very close to already hitting 10 Don, albeit 1 Don will attach to the leader next turn. You know, the fear of Rayleigh appearing is there now, or a 9-beard already is there. So, you know, our Zoro player has to very much help clear the board before he becomes overwhelmed from this fast ramp.
Yeah, absolutely. So just making that decision now, Roy. Does he have the pieces in hand to efficiently be able to deal with this bullet or not? But does have the Trafalgar Law blocker, so he can. But do you want to play that? Do you want to use the Queener first to rest the bullet? So drops the Law blocker, activates the Queener, rests the bullet. 3 Don to leader, and swings into the bullet. So deals with that, and then restand and swing into life. And our Roger player is now down to 3 life and passes back over. And what's really important here now is going to be that our Roger player is now on 10 Don. So next turn, things start to get a bit more interesting. Maximize the Don. No more Don will be added to the field next turn from the Don deck. So it means more plays. But we do get big old Mr. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, the 9 cost from back in the day, is here to give plus 2,000 power to our Roger now. So Roger is a 9k leader.
It's a very daunting moment when you're staring down, you know, at such a leader. We've seen this yesterday in many of the ace matchups, but now our Zoro player, I think, is already having a very struggling time in terms of card drawn in this game one. And
Yeah.
now with just a measly lore on board at the minute and leader swing, and you're staring at like such a beefed up leader across the table, you know, you're only going to do what looks like a big swing here.
Yeah. Just clearing that buggy as a free attack, essentially, because obviously Zoro, if it attacks a character, does get to restand and attack into the leader itself. So manages to get rid of the little buggy and swing into life with Roger. And I think it's almost you've it's going to be very difficult now for Zoro, because yes, you've got Roger down to 2 life, you're on 4, but our Roger player is going to start establishing quite a lot of characters, and we are at a point where you could potentially have some rush options as well. And yeah,
Speaking of which,
we bring down the Silvers Rayleigh, which is not going to help at all. So it is rush on play. If you have any donk cards are given, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, but that's not the case. We don't have any opponent characters, so it's just going to come in and it's going to be a big 9k rush body. But
and
we
there we
start,
see a beautiful Dead Man's Game being used to help counter out alongside a 2K.
yeah, being forced to take a couple of life this turn. Now Ryu is down to 2 life. And that Roger board is looking super imposing now with the Newgate, with the Rayleigh, Roger leader. And if we can get Ryu down to 0 life, we can drop a 10 cost Roger, which is unblockable, which stops any blocks, sorry, should I say, because it ends the game if you use a blocker. So we'll see what he can do. But what does he have in his hand there? Doesn't look like too many big characters as far as our Roger play is concerned, but does have plenty of counter. Got a couple of Sanjis there, which are 2k counters that I can see. We've got the buggy there as well.
I think he's just deciding whether to try and save the character. Where our Zoro player has left the 3 Don up, it's on the matter of, are we going to get a restand here? And he's just trying to pull cards out of Roger's hand, or
Yeah,
is he bluffing? But as we know, that hand is heavily event heavy, which is why Ryu has been unable to establish a board as
yeah,
we are used to seeing with Zoro. So it's a
yeah,
tough time as they think about their actions here.
exactly. Whereas our Roger player has got plenty of 2Ks in hand there. 2 buggies, 2 Sanjis, and that looks like a Usohachi at the back.
Plenty of counter,
Yep,
no big threats.
no, that's it. Does have another Douglas bullet in hand, so that's a 6k swing. if you play that. Obviously not rush, but we'll give a body that's 6k on the board as well. But it's still useful as a 1k counter as well. But that Rayleigh
Giving
does
the
go.
Rayleigh up.
Yep. And now is that swing going into Newgate now or life?
I believe it is life.
Yep.
From the indications. Suddenly, this is the problem with Zoro that you have to be careful with. Yes, they don't have a board, but if they've got the restand, they just
Yep.
stick a ton of Don on and free sword style their way to the win, essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is why this deck is so strong as well, because as we've
Yes.
seen, he's had pretty much a bricked hand. Doesn't really have the opportunity to play too many characters, but he's like, well, who needs characters when your leader can swing multiple times and be able to really pressure your opponent's life? And we've just seen that now. Our Roger player down to 0 life. If he does find the 10 cost Roger, that won't matter. But again, another nice big body, white beard coming on the board, making that leader 9k. Another difficult position to be able to push. But I think we need to start. Well, we've got 2 big swings coming in, but we still have a blocker on board as well, haven't we, in the form of Trafalgar Law?
As soon as one of those lives taken, that is correct, Taj. So, he can't win game this turn. He
Yep.
can force down to 1, but
Yep.
as you see, our opponent counters out. But this still leaves Zoro in a very strong place. He has a target where he can do the exact same thing again. Swing into a 9-beard,
Yep.
try and remove that, and then restand and swing at leader. And
He
you're at 0
has.
life.
Yeah, and he has. Look at his hand. He has got pieces there that can help him, but that leader being at 9,000 power is really going to make things a bit more difficult based on the number of cards our opponent has in hand. And we do know there are a lot of 2k counters in that hand as well. So we will see, I believe, our Roger player surviving this turn. But can Ryu get rid of that Newgate? Has to really go for it. I think our Roger player knows exactly that.
And this is a tough call because if he does let the Roger die and then counters out of the swing at life, he now then has to do much more tougher math because he's only got the Shanks and 1 Newgate on board.
Yep.
Whereas if he can keep the Newgate, obviously suddenly that increases his victory chances immensely. But then it's whether if he can counter out of the second swing from Zoro, because the restand is potentially there. So then there'll be a third swing.
Yep. So we do see the restand now. Swinging again. And it will be countered out. We get the buggy and the Sanji, 2k counters. And now we see a swing coming in from the Zorro. Another 4k worth of counter being used there. And does survive that. Now has 3 really big swings coming in. 10 Don available as well. Depending on what he's drawn, could potentially have another rush target as well, but we didn't see one in hand earlier on. He's going to start with the Newgate swinging in. Blocks with the Trafalgar Law. 4 cards in hand. No Don up. Takes the last life. And a massive swing there of 17k with leader, and obviously not enough counter in hand for our Zorro player. So Roger wins game 1 as we go into game 2 of our best of 3. As Yus is showing us here today, you don't necessarily need it to make top cut and qualify for the European Championship finals.
Very much
More
so.
than adequate winning the first game here as well. In pole position to make the top 16. Let's see how we now play this out with our Zorro player having the advantage of choosing to go first.
Already his hand's looking a bit better. So it's a good start for him. We will see if he can carry on that momentum, taking first here.
Absolutely. Again, Hiyori being able to go for that search now, just checking his own hand to make sure that the target he picks is going to be the optimum one. And he does take
2k counter.
good old Kawamatsu into his hand. Yeah, 2k counter. Just a vanilla 2k counter, which is something we saw introduced in the last 3 or 4 sets, which I really, really do like. Having vanilla
Yes.
counters. Yes, their base power, their cost stat is 1k less, but transferring that 1k power to 1k counter really makes them a lot more versatile and useful, and just gives your color options for certain archetypes a bit more of a wider choice of what 2k counters you want to put in there.
Very much so. Plus, I will also say the art style on them being full art cards is very appeasing to put into decks as well. We all like to bling out our decks where we can.
Absolutely does. But look at this, our Zoro plays in a much more commanding position here. Got a Tashigi on board now as well. Got our Roger player. His board empty and down to 3 life as well. So looking very good, as well as a blocker with protection on the board as well, so that Tashigi is going to be protected, thanks to the sensei on board there for both, for Zoro's master on there. I would say
Yes.
both, but there's speculation whether Tashigi is a certain person or not.
Shoot. That's a can of worms we don't want to open up on
We're not
stream,
going to
guys.
open our can of
No,
worms on stream, are we?
no.
But here we go. Roger player finally getting to play a decent sized body down now, and the cost of Scooper Bagan 6 cost 7,000 power body on play. It allows you to draw 2 cards and trash 1, which is very useful because it just makes sure now at this particular point you can start, getting the right pieces into your hand.
Very good card. Very good card that creates a body, and
And
also ramps.
yep, obviously I forget to say the second part with the Roger cards. It's almost an assumption, isn't it, that every
Yes.
purple Roger card is going to ramp for you? But yeah, it does ramp as well for you. So yeah, very much
Very,
so.
very key. You
Yep.
know, we're at that position already now where next turn we're at 10 Don. Now, albeit one of those Don will go on the leader, but as we saw in the first game, that very much means that we could see Whitebeard make an appearance again and
Yeah,
just power up to 9.
yeah, and there's 2 of those Whitebeards in hand, as we can see. Our Roger player's got a very healthy hand, quite a few 2k counters in the form of Sanji. 2 of those 9 cost Edward Newgates in hand as well. See Uso Hachi, I believe. Nope, Buggy, 2k counter. So yeah, looks like a decent hand. And this Roger deck, I mean, just seeing how this is being played, does carry a lot of 2k counters, doesn't it? It does have the
Yes,
ability to be able to protect those swings to a certain extent early on as your leader's 5k. Then once your leader gets to 7,000 power, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for your opponent. Then you can start playing your big bodies. So it does really give you that. But applying a lot more pressure now here as Ryu, our Zoro player, goes again, swinging in with 9,000 power. Gaban's not going to stay around for long, and that
no.
attack goes into life as well. Roger player now down to 2 life. But more importantly, we've got 2 Tashigis on board. We've got a blocker protecting them and a very strong leader that can restand. This is looking very good for our Zoro player here.
Yes, it's a very good comeback match for Ryu. 2 Tashigis on board. We didn't see one last game. So huge. Absolutely huge already.
Yep.
And we see the 9-beard being dropped, as we discussed. That
Yep.
strong power up becoming a 9k leader is, going to be super imperative, as we saw last game, to get out of those big swings from Zoro.
Absolutely. So we did see the blocker being used to protect that Tashigi there. But as you say, it is going to be really difficult now having that 9k leader. I mean, I've played against Black Yellow Luffy many times when it becomes a 9k or even 11k leader, and it does make
It's
it.
not a fun time.
No, a lot of the time you're pretty much frustrated because you can't swing into the leader and play characters. So you just really get frustrated. But in a deck like Zoro, you're like, well, okay, there's ways for me to give the 3 Don to my leader, be able to restand it. I mean, but there's no characters on board to be able to swing into, so that doesn't really help. So you want to keep those 3 Dom back for one of your events. So it's going to make it. You got to do the maths here and say, right, okay, if I divvy it up amongst the Tashigis, do I just go for a big swing with my leader, leave my Tashigi standing for now, hoping he won't drop another Whitebeard next turn? But he's definitely looks like he wants to play something here for 5 Don. It's probably going to be Cavendish. Yeah, there we go. Cavendish comes down, restanding 2 of those, puts another 6k body on board. That's going to be really important going forward because every time it swings, it is going to be giving you restanding 2 Don, which later on in this game could be really, really important indeed. But I think our Zoro player is very happy to keep things as they are. That one swing with leader, not swinging with the bodies on board, thinking, listen, I'm in a comfortable position. I've got 5 life here. He's only got 2 swings next turn, potentially 3 if he's got a rush character. I can wait my time.
Yes. It's 5 life first 1 at this point, and as you already said, he's got a board full of bodies that now are just simple Don attachments, and they meet the requirements. Like, it's a strong place,
Yeah,
but he has to still keep the pressure up because otherwise, as we can see, 2 9-beards on board. Suddenly, it's very quickly for the table to turn on him if he doesn't deal with this fast.
exactly. So swings into the 9-beard with the leader to begin with. Plenty of cards in hand, as we said. It looks like about 10 cards in our Roger player's hands. He's looking at the 3 Don open as well. That's really important. So he's like, okay.
He's got one Don open himself.
Yeah.
So is he baiting potentially because he's playing red? Access to Rad Beam. We have the 1-cost event that gives him a 3k counter as well. There's lots of options here to help get out of these swings if needed.
Yeah, I think Ryu's just playing the smart game here. He's basically saying, look, I'm doing a 12k swing. I'm forcing 2 cards out of your hand here. Do you want to counter or not? You are going to counter. So let's see what you do now. So does restand and does swing in. Again, I'm assuming. Well, first of all, he's going to use Cavendish. Smart move to restand
Very
2
strong.
Don.
Get 2 more Don, make the strong like the swing bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've said this so many times when I saw Bonnie players and we would discuss when you would be playing into like black yellow. Sometimes just swinging, even if it's not going to hit, getting those 2 Don back up, really big.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
oversized hit. Because now, it's not just 2 cards that have to be forced out of hand on the size of this swing.
Yeah, 14k swing coming in now with leader. And he's going to obviously try and swing in. Let's see. 14 into 10. Or do you want to do 14 into life here? Into 9?
The decisions.
Yeah.
It's
Just 7 cards in hand. That's a healthy number. Now, we can see the 10-cost Roger in hand as well. So, our Roger player might be like, okay, if you swing into it, if you swing into the new gate, will he take it just to drop down to 0 life? But I don't think it's exactly that point they can win the game.
no, he doesn't. He doesn't have the blocker on board. And when you're sitting in a position that Ryu is, he could still take the life and not activate the blocker. However, it is a rush body option if he's able to keep the 3 new gates on board, and then you go with a 7, 10, 10, 13 split swing and hope. But our Zoro player's hand is also big, and you've got to envision he then takes those 3 cards to hand as well. There's a very risky play at this point in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what our Roger player decides to do here now.
It looks very tough at this point, Taj. You've got you don't have the 9-beard at this point.
Yep.
You're staring down the barrel of a gun of all these swings coming at you next turn. Yes, you are 7k, but my opponent has 2 characters that are 7k, one that's a 1 Donna attached and it's a 7k, plus Zoro that we all know how strong he can be at restanding and swinging.
Absolutely. There is a
It's a tough
Katakuri
place.
in hand, but there's not really much else. So that Katakuri is not really going to be cutting it. You can use one of the new gates to potentially swing into the Cavendish to get rid of that, but you're still going to be facing multiple attacks coming in from those two Tashigis and the leader. So Newgate does clear the Cavendish.
Very much needed in this scenario.
Absolutely. Now swings into life. It's taken.
This is where a small body blocker could be. It's hard because you're playing against Zoro, right? So they could still drop so many bodies that would allow to have something to rest said blocker. You know, we've got Dead Man's Game, rest 2 bodies. You've got Kawina, rest a 4 cost. If
Yep.
needs be at this point in time, when you're at 0 life against Zoro, blockers aren't always going to help you. However, as we discussed yesterday, having to force your opponent into situations where, well, we've got this blocker now, what's your response?
Yeah.
Is what's needed.
He's forcing the counters out of hand now. And he's gonna swing, leaving 3 Don open. 12k into life here. Block with a Katakuri. 12k again, and that's enough. Our Roger player just doesn't have enough cards in hand. Very well played by Ryu there to be able to sort of chip away at cards in hand throughout the last few turns there. Very, very great showing there.
Yes, you know, Zoro got to show what it's capable of here in the second match, and it needed to, because now we go to game 3, all to play for. Both players, as you already said, they win this, they're in the top 16, and then they're 1 game away from a serialized ace.
Top 16 does mean you get the Ben Beckman card and an additional Gol D card as well. So that does help. But top 8 is where you want to be. So let's see. Starts off with his search. And it looks like he's taking a Zoro there. Oop, having a second choice. Yeah, nope. Decides to take the event instead.
Very strong choice here. You know, the
Yeah.
Zoro is useful, but the fact of once we see Roger starting powering up, that 5k body isn't, you know, going to be as useful. The Don that would need to be added could
Yep.
be taking away from, as we saw in the first 2 games, just swing big with leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Luffy is the man who will become king of the pirates is such a really strong card indeed. And again, now we see another event card being added to hand in the form of, because the side of justice will be whichever side that wins. And 2k counter for that first swing in the form of Scratchman Apu, one of my most hated supernovas.
I will say my most hated supernova.
Yeah,
need to
actually I
speak
should
with-
say I'd agree with that. My most hated supernova.
I need to speak to someone at Bandai. He has way too many cards. Way too many cards. But yeah, we see Roger. He did a search and then switched over, and now we see our 3rd Perona of the game. You know, this is if at this point Ryu's not seeing the cards that he needs, you've got to start thinking, are they in my life? How far down are they? You know, and that's such an important moment because sometimes you've done 3 searches, so you've seen 15 cards. You've got 5 in your hands, you're at 20, and there's 5 in your life, so that's 25. That's half your deck. So
Yeah,
sometimes that really decides whether, you know what, I'm going to take these first couple of hits because the cards I need might be there.
absolutely. Yeah, really important to note that. Yeah, because those searches do mean you are filtering through your deck, understanding what's going to be left in there. So really important knowledge to have. But do you see another life taken here? Roger player down to 3 life.
5k
Has
swing
been.
from Perona. You don't see that often.
Yeah, exactly. As our Roger player is now up to 6 Don. Starts off with a 5k swing. That one's taken.
We see the ramp from Bon Clay, which
Yep.
could be a very strong card going into if we see out a big body. However, I feel Zoro will, when the resting comes in, dispatch that very fast.
Yeah, very strong turn there with the Bon Clay and the buggy. 2
Yes.
extra Don, meaning next turn we will be on 10 Don.
However, we get to see the Zoro's strongest combo from OP13, which is 6 cost law, bouncing a body back to hand, and then playing out of a rested 5 cost. In this case, obviously Tashigi, which then allowing that beautiful 8k swing into the Bonclay and then into life.
Yeah, really efficient play there. You don't want that Bon Clay sticking around because obviously it can match any of your character's powers. So that becomes a free 7k swing essentially because you use it for ramp and then whatever bonus you get off it with swinging, you get a 1 hit with it essentially because it drops down to 1,000 on your turn. And that would have been nasty to have to take an extra 7,000 power swing there. So very
Very
nice
nasty
play.
card.
Yeah, very nice play to one, get a blocker down, but also be able to deal with that bug Bon Clay as well on that turn. So let's see what our Roger player is going to do. A very familiar pattern here. a 9 cost. Edward Newgate drops down, making our leader 9,000 power again. And now targeting that Tashigi with that 9k attack from the leader.
For sure. Very, very strong play, as we discussed. We've seen one in every game so far. And, the understatement of being a 9k leader, is so big. And in this case, with Tashigi being rested, try and remove it quickly. And then you're left with 2 small bodies and a law that probably Ryu was going to just leave until he needed to, down to 1 life as a blocker.
Yep.
Changes the momentum massively.
Does indeed. It's going to be really difficult next turn because Ryu obviously will be trying to push to get our Roger player down to at least 1 life next turn, which you can do obviously with swinging big with the leader again, but you do want to try keep that Tashigi on board because it'll be so important if there's not another Edward Newgate the next turn. Does let
Very
it
rest
go. Yeah, passes back over now. So 8 Don turn for Ryu now.
Will we see a Tashigi come out and rest the buggy for a big swing?
Yeah, see that. Let's see what the play's going to be here. Okay, we start off with our 4th and final Perona. We did have 3 out, didn't we, at one point?
He
Yeah.
bounced it back with the
Oh,
law.
sorry. Yeah, he bounced it back for the law. Yep. So he is playing it for the 4th time, but it is the one that he bounced back.
Yes. Trying to decide what to take from the search, always important. Saw some
Absolutely.
2Ks, saw the restand event. He's got options.
Let's see what he's going to do here.
And I think you'll see a lot of this today where it's a slower, more methodical approach to the games where, and sometimes I said this yesterday, you just need to slow down a second and make sure
Yep.
it's the right choice. Because you don't want to
Absolutely.
regret it afterwards when you've rushed into it and gone, I should have took this card, but I took that card.
Yeah. Well, we've got 20 minutes on the clock, so more than enough time to finish this game off. We're in a comfortable position. Don't think we'll be playing this one for more than that. Both, as you were saying earlier on, both very aggro decks. Once you get the pieces together, don't really play too defensively. So we have got Mihawk
2K
to
swing.
hand, 2k counter, always very good. Swings big with leader.
It's almost telegraphed this game. I'm going to play out Newgate. I'm going to swing big with Zoro.
Yep.
Very, very easy for both us and the viewers at home for game 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, we now do have 10 full Don available to our Roger player. Does have that 10,000 power Newgate on board as well. And what do you play out? There's a couple of shanks there in hand as well, which can be very, very dangerous indeed.
This is a very tough situation to be in because you're at 1 life. You've got a buggy on board, so it's very easy now for Zoro to capitalize on doing that. Or you can just, as we've seen, attached on and restand event and swing.
Yeah.
It's very tough. Very, very tough. But our Zoro players at 4 life doesn't need to rush it the next turn. So it all very
Absolutely.
much depends is what happens here.
Yeah. You really want to make some sort of option here where it's going to make it difficult for the Zoro player. But he's in a very good position, as you state. You know, Roger's down to 1 life. That leader can just swing big again next turn. You've got a blocker on board, 4 life. So essentially, our Roger player needs to get 5 swings through, or 6 to win the game. So nowhere near that this turn, or can be nowhere near that. Needs another couple of turns to try and get the win here. Swings in with a Newgate now. That life's taken down to 3. Rush Shanks comes in, giving everything on the board minus 1,000 power on Zoro's side. And that life is taken. And as I was saying, these Shanks, when you start chaining them, oh my gosh, it makes it so difficult for you and for your attacks to go through when all of your characters are minus 1,000. But Zoro might not be too fussed about that, considering the leader is pretty much a multiple attacking leader.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't really matter too much about the characters on board. So starts off with a big 12k swing into life. Needs 6k counter to avoid this. No blockers on board. Does he have the ability to be able to stave off this attack? Does he take the life? And that'll be a big tell if he does.
Very much so, Taj. You know, that 3-don up is also just going to cause you lots of problems.
Yep.
As we see here, use the restand event so he can send in the swing before restanding 1 final time.
Taken. Swings again into life. Does he have enough? It's up to 9. 12k swing. 10.
12. Oof.
Ooh.
There's a lot of cards out of hand right there.
That is a lot of cards, but I think he just about makes it. So does survive. Couple of shanks there's 1k counters. So
But this is where this becomes tough because you're at 2 life now in the Zoro player, and as soon as one of those life lost again, as we saw in the previous game, you've got the blocker law. So
yeah,
what does our player do? Because once again, a blocker's not going to be the best bet because we'll just rely on the leader here of, well, I'll swing at you. Okay, you block. I get to restand and I'll swing again. So it's a very bad situation for Zeus right now and Roger.
yeah, absolutely is. Ryu's got a nice, decent hand size as well. So we'll have counters. We do know there's that Mihawk that he took, so that's common knowledge to his opponent. There is at least 1 2k counter in hand. So even if you put some Dawn on that buggy, it's not really gonna help. So yeah, just concedes. He doesn't find a way through. I was thinking, there's no way I can win this game. And Zoro wins the game. And Ryu goes 2-1 up to go through to the top 16 matchup.